Hello everyone, my name is Priya and I welcome all of you to the session. In this session, we will be discussing about the most important topic of JavaScript, which is nothing but DOM manipulation in JavaScript. So everything about this DOM manipulation we are going to cover from the scratch. Inside this DOM manipulation, we will understand how we can create elements dynamically, how we can append elements dynamically, adding class names dynamically, event listeners dynamically, everything from the scratch we are going to cover. So if you don't know anything about this DOM manipulation in JavaScript, if you don't know what is the meaning of adding elements dynamically or why it is required, everything from the scratch we are going to cover in this session. Okay. So first we will understand what is the meaning of this DOM manipulation, why it is required, and then these all points we are going to cover practically. Okay. So first let's understand what is this DOM manipulation all about. Okay. So in HTML, you would have learned about DOM, Document Object Model. This DOM stands for Document Object Model. Who creates this document object model? Browser only creates this DOM, right? For example, let's say we have written one HTML code. I have created one file with the name mysite.html, and inside that this HTML code I have written where I have one HTML tag. See, this is the root element, head tag, inside that I have one title, then this is the browser body tag, inside that I have one p element. That's all, and the respective closing tags are also there. Okay, so once you give this complete HTML document to the browser, what browser will do? Browser will render the complete HTML document, right? So internally browser will create one DOM for your document object model for your HTML document. So now how browser creates that DOM, that we are going to understand. Okay, so whenever we are providing one HTML document to the browser to render and display output on the front end, browser will create a DOM for that document. Okay, so browser first will decide the root element. Okay, so few elements I am going to display in my DOM as of now. Along with these elements, we will be having some other elements as well that we will discuss later. Okay, so as per this code, first root element is HTML. So in this DOM, first root element will come, which is nothing but HTML. Okay, inside this HTML, we have a two child elements. Carefully, if you observe, this is the first child element, head, and later we have this complete browser body. Okay, these are the direct child of your HTML element. Later this title is a part of head and this p is a part of browser body. So for your HTML tag, you have head and body as a direct child elements. Okay, so inside this HTML, first we have browser head. Okay, and next we have browser body. So here I am going to display browser body. Okay, now inside browser head, what we have? Inside browser head we have title. Correct, so I'll just show title. What is the title? What is the text content of title? My site. This is the text content we have provided as a title. Next, inside browser body, what we have? Inside browser body we have one p element. What is the content of p element? Hello is the content of p element. So this is what exactly we call it as a document object model, a tree like structure of your HTML code, tree like structure of our complete HTML code. So if you have more number of elements, so it will keep adding those elements. It will check the parent element. In the parent element, it will keep adding the other elements as well. So we no need to worry about this document object model, because whenever we provide any document, HTML document to the browser, browser will create this DOM internally. Okay, so now we need to learn how we can manipulate this DOM. Now manipulation means what? Let's say your tree like structure, your DOM is ready. Now I want to add one more new node to this DOM. Let me highlight the DOM. This is your DOM now. Okay. Now in this DOM, in this browser body, I want to add one more new element with the name, let's say div. Inside this div, I want to add one more new element, let's say h1. Okay, whichever the element it is. So now dynamically I want to add elements in my DOM. Or let's say I already have this p tag. I want to remove this p tag from my DOM. Okay, adding new element. This is what we call it as adding new element to your DOM. Okay. Now if you want to remove this p, this is what we call it as a removing element from DOM. Removing element from DOM. Okay. So adding new element, removing element from the DOM, this is what we call it as a DOM manipulation. Or let's say you already have an element title. Okay. Content is my site. You want to update this content from my site to my website, like this, my website. So if you want to update the content, this is what we call it as a updating DOM. Updating DOM. So if you want to add new element to the DOM, or if you want to remove element from the DOM, or if you want to update the existing element of the DOM, this is what we call it as a DOM manipulation. So that's why in the DOM manipulation, we are going to learn how we can create and add element in our DOM, how we can add class names to the DOM elements, how we can remove the class name, modify the content, many more things comes under this DOM manipulation, and everything we have to do dynamically. Now dynamically means what? That practically I'll show you what is the meaning of dynamically updating the DOM. Okay, so I hope I am clear with what is the meaning of DOM manipulation. DOM manipulation means adding new element into the DOM, removing existing element from the DOM, updating the element of the DOM. That's what we call it as a DOM manipulation. And this DOM manipulation we are going to do dynamically. So next, let's understand what is the meaning of dynamically manipulating the DOM. Okay, so let's move towards our VS Code. So these are the topics we are going to cover in our DOM manipulation and the complete notes you will be getting in this description of the video. Okay. So in this DOM manipulation, first let's understand how we can create element, then how we can add element, next how we can add class names dynamically, event listeners dynamically, removing the class name. These are the different DOM methods to select the element, and these are the methods to modify content of our element. If you want to change the attributes, style elements, remove elements, yes, multiple DOM methods we have over here. Okay, so everything from the scratch, let's start understanding this. So now we'll move towards our VS Code and we'll start with our coding journey. So I already have created one new folder with the name Session6, as this is our Session 6 of our JavaScript journey. So create one new folder with the name Session6, and inside that create one new file with the name dommanipulation.html. Okay, I have given the file name as dommanipulation.html. Do remember this. Okay. So now let's go inside this dommanipulation.html file. Okay. So get the basic structure of HTML. These meta tags I am going to remove as of now. This language English also I am going to remove, and let's keep the basic structure of HTML. Okay. So now if you carefully observe, inside your entire HTML code we have header tag, browser body tag. In browser body tag we don't have anything, correct? And we have a closing of HTML tag. Let's see the output of this particular code. Okay, I'll just go live. Yeah, so this is the output of our code. Let me just click on cancel installation. Okay, so we don't have anything over here. Just right click on your web page and click on inspect. Now if you check in elements, we have browser head. Inside browser head we have one title, and inside browser body we don't have anything. We have a script. Okay, but we have not added this script. By default it is present. Okay, so now you can check inside browser body we don't have anything. So let's add content in the browser body. If I add p tag with the content hello, now if I go back, see, in browser body I got a p tag, but this is what we call it as a statically adding element. I have added that HTML tag directly in the browser body. Now dynamically updating element or adding element means what? Let's understand. See, in browser body, I don't have anything. Okay. So now I am going to write the JavaScript code. This is my script tag. Okay. Now let me close this side. Control B you can use to close the list of all the files. Okay. Now inside this script tag, I am going to declare one variable with the name new element. Any name, any variable name you can provide over here. Now we will just mention document dot. Now document is one object. In the next session only we are going to cover the topic object. Okay. Inside this object we have a different DOM manipulation methods. Just now we understood DOM manipulation means adding new elements, removing the existing element, updating the element. So to do that we have to use different methods, and those methods are present inside this object. Okay, so that's why we have mentioned document, go inside this object and call the method. Which method? Create element method. You can check create element method. Okay, so this method will help you to create new element. What is the element name? Let's say I want to create one new element with the name P. Okay, I'll just save the code now. On the next line, I will not write anything, rather I'll just save the code. We'll go back and let's refresh this. Now if we go to the console, what is the variable name? My element, right? So write my element. What this variable is holding? See, this variable is holding one P tag. So your create element method will create one element. This is HTML element only, right? Okay, with the name P tag, because we have mentioned the name P tag. If you mention create element h1, so what it will do? See, if I just refresh this, now let's see what is present in this new, or sorry, my element, right? My element. See, inside this now h1 tag is present. Okay, so document.create element will help you to create one element. So P tag is ready. It is not a part of your browser body yet. Inside your DOM tree, you have at the top HTML, inside HTML2 child, head and body. Inside head you have a title, inside body you have a script tag. That's all. Okay, so if you carefully observe, elements also inside body you have a script tag. That's all. Inside script the further code we have written. Okay, but we don't have any P tag inside browser body because we just created one element. That's all. Okay, so now to this P tag I want to add the text content. So you can write document.text content, sorry, my element.text content is equal to, I'll just write hello. Now what is the meaning of this? See, just now we created one new element with the name P. So this P tag is present inside the variable myELE. So I have mentioned myELE dot. So whatever is present in myELE, what is present in myELE? If you check carefully, inside myELE variable P tag is present. So I have mentioned dot text content of that P must be hello. So if you carefully observe, one tag got created where text content is hello. So one element is ready like this where P is holding now hello. This is the closing of P tag. Okay. So your P tag is ready. Now I want to add one class name also. So I can write my element dot class list dot add the class name. Okay, what class name you want over here? Let's say I want the class name as para. Okay, my para or only para, that's all. So here what will happen? What is present in my element? This complete, correct, right? So now I have mentioned to this element I need one class name. What is the class name? Para. So your element is ready like this. Now if you go back and if you try to check what is present in my element, you can check paragraph, class name and content. So we have created one element dynamically. We have not written directly one code like this where hello is present, class name. No. We have created one complete P tag with the text content hello, with the class name para, with the help of methods. Okay. First method create element, second is text content property. This is not a method, this is property. And the next class list dot add method. Okay, this is property, not a method. If it is method, we usually call the method like this, method name. Okay, after that brackets. So we don't have any brackets for this text content. Okay, do remember this. So now once your element is ready, now let's say you want to add the color to this element. Okay, so you can write my element dot, okay, style dot color. What color you want? Let's say I want blue color. Okay, blue color. That's all. So what will happen over here? You already have this in your my element variable. So I have mentioned dot means go inside it, set the style attribute, okay, with the property color, okay, style attribute with the property color, and its value must be blue. So let me show you practically first. Now if I just write my element, see style, its property color value is blue. Okay, so same property is color and its value is blue. Like this you will be getting your style attribute. Okay. Okay. So dynamically first we created element, we added text content with the help of text content property, then we added class name, then we added style attribute as well. Okay, I hope I am clear with this. So now once it is ready, I want the output means this element inside my browser body. So in that case we can just write document dot browser body dot, we have something called as append child. Okay, now what is your child name, element name? My element. So just mention the variable name over here, my element. Now what is the meaning of this? See, inside document, do you have any p tag or any other elements? No, we don't have. So I have mentioned inside a document we have a browser body. Inside browser body, you append this child with the name my element. We directly cannot write body.append child. If we write like this, browser will think this body is a variable name and you will be getting beautifully one error like this. Body is not defined because browser is thinking body is a variable name. So just now we have seen our DOM tree, right? And our root element is HTML. Okay, here opening of HTML I'll just show. Yeah, this is the opening of HTML is the root element, but main element is your document. At the top you will be having document object, below that you have this HTML. So that's why we have mentioned inside a document means in that DOM tree you have one browser body element. There you append this child with the name my element. So in DOM tree, now you will be having one my element as well for this browser body. So now if I save the code and if we just refresh this, here we haven't mentioned document directly, as I have told, we cannot write body. So document dot body dot append child, that's all. Now if we just refresh this, as you can check, we got hello over here. And if you go to the elements, I'll just close this script tag. See, now inside browser body you have this paragraph. This is a part of browser body. Okay, yeah, this is how we got our output. Now let's say you have one container in the browser body. Already this container is present with the class name for this container as my container. Okay, my container like this, or only container also you can provide. Now I want this newly created element, which is nothing but your p tag, inside this div. So in that case what we should write now? So directly we cannot write document dot body dot div, not required. First we have to target this div container, okay, and then we can use that container over here to append the child. Okay, so directly if you write it over here, that div dot append child, let me show you output. See, I'll just refresh this. Now this is your div container. Inside this div container we don't have anything, And if you go to the console, see div is not defined. So it is thinking div is is a variable. Okay. So if you are thinking, then ma'am, again we will just mention document dot div dot append child. Now let me show you the output. If I go back, see again I am getting cannot read the properties of undefined. Okay. So what code we have written? Document dot div dot append child my element. So when it comes to the div or other containers, here we can just mention the browser body. Okay, if you want to attach something to the browser body directly, then go with document dot body. Okay, as you can check, we properly got our output. Inside browser body, you have one div container and also you have one paragraph tag. Okay, but if you want to add something which you have created dynamically to one container, not browser body, so in that case, first you have to target that container. This container you have to target. How to target the container? Let me show you over here. First, declare one variable in JavaScript. Let's say the variable name is my container. Any variable name you can mention. I will write document dot get element by class name. Okay, we have something called as get element by class name. So here I am going to provide the class name as my container. Okay, so if you carefully observe document dot, so I have mentioned in your DOM tree, check all the elements and target the element where class name is my container. So inside browser body, wherever you have element with the name, sorry, with the class name my container, that element will come inside this my container variable. Okay, all the elements where class name is my container will come into this variable and you will be getting something called as HTML collection. For example, if I just print my container, see we got one HTML collection. Now inside this only one container is present, where class name is div. So if you have, let's say, one more element where class name is my container only. Okay, I'll just save this. So what we have mentioned in the script tag, get all the elements which are present in the browser body with the class name my container. So what is present in this my container variable now? If I just go back and refresh, let's print the value of my container. See HTML collection. Now in this two elements are present, 0th index value and this is the first index value. Length is 2. Means two elements are present with the class name my container. So yes, we can target the elements by using class name. But this returns the complete HTML collection. You can consider it as one array. Okay. But I don't want that array. Okay. I want single element. This first element only. Okay. If multiple elements are there, I want this first div container only. One single element I want. So in that case, instead of using getElementByClassName, you can use something called as querySelector. Okay. querySelector. So now here my container is class name. So you have to use dot because JavaScript will understand this is a class name. So now the meaning of this line is go to the DOM tree and check the browser body. Inside this browser body, multiple elements are there. Target the element, the first element where class name is my container, the first element only. So let's see what is present inside this my container variable. I'll just refresh this. Now I am going to print my container, enter. See, the first container, this complete div container is present. So your query selector will help you to target only one element, the first element, which satisfies this condition. So what is the condition? Target the element where class name is my container. So it will start checking from the top. Is this element having the class name my container? Actually, it checks the DOM tree created by browser. In the DOM tree, complete information about each element will be present. Okay. So yes, the first encountered element where class name is my container, it will target. Okay, that's all. So now the complete container is present inside this my container variable. This complete div tag is present inside my container variable. Let me show you. If I print my container variable, See, the complete div tag is present. So now this newly created element, this my element where paragraph tag is present, I want to add inside the first container. First container I targeted in this variable. So last I'm going to just write my container dot append child. Append child. What you want to append? This my element I want to append. That's all. Okay. I hope I am clear with this code. So I'll just save the code. If I go back, let me show you the elements. See, browser body. This is your first container with the class name my container. Inside this, see, you have a paragraph tag. So successfully we created one paragraph element dynamically and we added it into our DOM tree inside this first div tag. So many new concept you might have learned through this concept, like query selector means what, get element by class name means what, okay, create element, text content, class list dot add, dot style, dot color. You can set the background color as well. You can write like this, my element dot style dot background color. What background color you want? Let's say I want aqua. Okay, aqua as a background color I want. See, aqua background color, I got it over here. So yes, multiple CSS properties, you can set it like this. Now, if you are thinking, ma'am, directly we can write the code over here to create element, or inside div container directly I am going to write p tag. Why do we need to do all those steps? Why do we need to write all these steps? So my dear, we have to create the elements dynamically. Means, let's say whenever you are using any applications, you might have seen if we click on the button, at that time some elements will be visible to us, right? That's what we call it as an interactive application. So when user will click, then we have to display some elements. All the p tag, heading tag, subheadings, images, at the time we won't display to the elements. Some content we will display dynamically. Means when user will click, at that time that content will be visible. So in that case, we will be using this concept. Let me show you one practical demo over here. Let's say after this div, I am going to display one div container. Okay. Sorry, one button. On this button, I'll just write click to add or click to get hello. Okay. Click to get hello. This is one normal button I have created. Now I am going to add event listener to this button. Okay. How I am going to add? Carefully observe. I'll just write when user will click on this button, then call one function with the name get hello. This is one function. Carefully observe this line. When user will click on this button, which function will be called? Get hello function will be called. So do remember, first this code it has to execute and then this code it has to execute. So that's why script tag must be present exactly before the closing of browser body. Okay, not at the beginning. Okay. So that's why first button will be rendered. When user will click on the button, get hello function will be called. So now creating function is a part of JavaScript. So let's create the function over here. So I'm creating one function with the name get hello. Okay, how to create function already we have discussed. Now inside this function, whatever the logic we have written, like target the container, create p tag, attach text content, give class name, give background color, text color, and append this child inside the div container. So this complete logic I am going to give inside this function. Okay, like this. So you can check now whatever the code we have written till now. I have given that complete code inside this get hello function. Now what will happen? See, first you will give this DOM manipulation.html file to the browser. Browser will start rendering the complete code line by line from top to bottom approach, and browser itself creates one DOM tree internally. Inside that DOM tree, browser will give one div container with the class name my container. Browser will create one button. Okay. Browser will create one more div container with the same class name. Okay. Once browser will completely render this HTML code, then browser will see the tag script. as browser understand only and only language of tag. Once browser will see the script tag, browser don't know how to execute script code. So inside every browser, by default, JavaScript engine is running. So browser immediately call JavaScript engine and browser will ask JavaScript engine to execute this code. Browser already created one DOM tree in which all the elements are present. So now as soon as browser will encounter script tag, browser will call JavaScript engine. So now JavaScript engine will start executing this code. JavaScript engine will check, okay, one function has been declared with the name getHello. But have we called this function anywhere over here? No. So JavaScript engine won't do anything. It will just check, okay, user has declared one function with the name getHello. That's all. Okay. So your final response you will be getting like this. See, this is your element DOM tree created by browser. Inside DOM tree, you have first div container, next button, one more div container. That's all. Inside this div container, you don't have anything. Okay, because this code has not been executed by JavaScript engine yet. When this code will be executed, when user will click on the button. So the moment you click on this button, see you got heading. Then what happened? The moment you clicked on that button, inside this div you got P. So the moment we clicked on this button, getHello function got called. Inside this function, we created one, first we targeted the element where class name is my container. So whichever the element will come first, that element is present in this variable. Then we created element, we added text content, we gave class name, we have provided some styling also, background color also, and to this my container we have added this element. So that's why inside this div we are getting this p tag. This is called as dynamically creating and adding element in the DOM tree. Okay, so if I click on this button to get hello, see I got hello over here. Okay, so this is how we create the we add the elements dynamically, we remove the elements dynamically. As of now we haven't removed any element, we'll remove it next. But I hope I am clear with what is the meaning of dynamically updating DOM. So initially in the DOM, we were not having any p tag in this div. But the moment user will click on this, see inside this div, we got p tag. This is called as dynamically adding element in the DOM tree. Okay. Now let's say we want to remove the class name. This class name I don't want for this p element. Okay. So you can give one more element, one more button over here. Okay. Directly also we can remove, but I'm just showing you how to do it dynamically. Let's say I have provided one more button with the name remove remove CSS. Remove CSS. Now when user will click on this button, again I'm using on click, then I'm going to call one function with the name remove CSS like this. This is my function name. Okay. So let me show you the button. See, remove CSS button is present. So when user will click on this, we have an element, right? So when user will click on remove CSS, it should remove all the CSS properties which we have applied on this element. Okay. So now to remove the CSS property, we can simply remove this class name. But we have not added the properties with the help of class name. Rather, we have added like this dot style dot color, dot style dot background color. So this is not efficient way to adding the properties, because carefully if you observe, again and again we are writing dot style dot style dot style. So let's say on one single element you want to apply color, background color, text center, margin, padding. So that many times those new lines you have to write. So that's why these two lines I am going to remove, and we already have added one class name with the name para, right? So inside this head tag, we will create one class name with the name para, and inside this some CSS properties we will provide, for example color. Okay, and the color I'm going to give it as a blue. Okay, let me give it as blue. In the similar way, I'm going to give background color as well. Background. color. And background color, I'm going to give it as a aqua. Okay. So now whatever the CSS class we have created, this directly in the head we should not give. Otherwise browser will get confused. What is this code all about? Because browser understand only and only language of tag. So that's why we will be taking one style tag, and inside this style tag we will write all those things. Okay. Let me just write the background color property carefully. This is your background color property. Yeah. Okay. Background color is aqua. So now browser will check, okay, title tag browser understands, style tag browser understand. As soon as browser will see style tag, browser will get to know that this is the CSS property we have to apply on the elements. So when class is ready like this, holding color is blue and background color is aqua. Now what we did, we already have created p tag, text content is hello, and to this p tag we gave this class name para. So now if I show you, see, if I click over here, we are getting hello, but CSS properties we are not getting over here. So let me check where we went wrong. Let's go back to our code. Class name we have provided it as a para, so yes, here it is also para. So there is just one silly mistake, that we have provided these colors in quotes by mistake, correct, right? So that's why browser is not understanding what is this color all about. So I just removed that. So we'll save the code, we'll go back and let's check our output now. I'll just refresh this first. We'll click to get hello. See, we are getting all the CSS properties. So now instead of writing dot style dot color dot style dot background color, we can provide all the CSS properties over here. If I give the text align, okay, and we will just write center. Now if you check your output, see, I'm getting it at the center. So now if I click on this remove CSS, then it should remove all the CSS properties. So in that case, see, when user will click on this remove CSS button, which function will be called? Remove CSS function will be called, right? So let's implement one more function with the name remove CSS. Okay. Inside this function, we will target which element? First, this element, okay, which we have created newly. But this element is a part of this function, right? So that's why what we will do, we will declare these variables dynamically. Oh, sorry, we will declare this variable globally because we have created element over here. So from this element, this class name I want to remove. If I remove the class name, all the CSS properties also will be removed. So this function variables, we cannot access inside this function, right? So that's why here I am going to declare one variable with the name my element. We will just declare it. And later we are going to use that variable here to create element, okay, to add class list and to append child. Now the same variable name I am going to use it over here. Okay, target the my element dot class list dot remove. Okay, remove. Which class name you want to remove? Para class name you want to remove. That's all. Okay, so now I'll just save the code. We'll go back. First, make sure you will click to get hello. Then only click on this remove CSS. CSS got removed. Okay. So again, I'll refresh. Directly don't click on remove CSS because element, this my element, which is holding p tag, will be created when you click on this get hello. Sorry, when you click on this button. So get hello function will be called. Inside this function, we are creating p tag. Correct, right? So I'll click on this. Yes, we got this. If I click on remove CSS, yes, CSS got removed. Okay. So try it out first with this basic code. Then practically in our applications, how we can use that we will discuss. Okay. So this complete code I'm going to give in your notes. Okay. So these are the notes, and from this we have completed creating an element, appending element. Next we have learned giving the class names dynamically, how we can add event listeners dynamically. Now when it comes to adding event listeners, see, inside HTML we have written this JavaScript code because on click calling of function is a part of JavaScript. So you can do this with the help of one more way. Okay, let me show you what is that way all about. First, we are going to target this button. So I'll just declare one variable with the name button1 document dot. Now we have one more method called as getElementById. Okay, getElementById. Let's say for this button, I already have provided one ID with the help of ID attribute as button1. And for this button, I have provided one ID with the name button2. So we can target the elements by using getElementById method also. Previously we targeted with the help of querySelector, with the help of getElementByClassName also. Now I am using getElementById. Okay, what is the difference between getElementById, getElementByClassName? Next we will understand. Okay. So now target the element where ID is button1. So what will happen? It will check which element has ID button1, this element. So this complete button is present in button1 variable. So now I am going to mention on this button1 when user will click. So we will just use on click event. Then call the function. Which function you want to call? Get hello function you call. Okay, but we cannot call the function before its declaration, right? So what we will do, this get hello function implementation we will provide over here. Instead of writing like this, first let me declare my element variable and here we will write. Okay, and this function I am going to give it as a value, that's all. So when user will click on this button, then you execute this function. Now we no need to give this on click over here. See, this is a pure HTML code. Okay, JavaScript code we will completely write it in JavaScript. Now you can check HTML code is completely separate. Okay, only button with the ID btn1. So I have mentioned target the element where ID is button. So this complete button tag is present in button1 variable. Let me show you practically. Okay, if we go to the console and we will just write button1, see the complete button is present in button1 variable. Okay, so now we have mentioned when user will click on that button1 variable, then you target the container. Which container? This container. Okay, query selector we have used over here. The first container where class name is my container, you target it, then create element, add the text content, add the class list and append it to that container. That's all. Okay, so same output you will be getting. Let's try it out. If I click over here, see we got it like this. If we click remove CSS, CSS got removed. So this is one more way to add event listeners to the elements. This way usually we use. Okay, we won't use this outdated one on click. So now one example I have converted to this event listener. Okay, now for this also you add the event listener by using this way only. So first you have to target the button where ID is btn2. Okay, target the button where ID is btn2. Once you target, just write btn2 on click. When user will click on this button, then which function it should call? This remove CSS, right? So this complete function you can give over there. So let me show you over here. I'll just write btn2 document dot get element by id. What is the id we have provided? btn2. Okay, we'll save the code over here. So now when user will click on this btn2, then this function it has to execute, right? So we will just write btn2 dot on click, then execute this function. Execute this function. Done. We'll save the code. Now let me just verify this. If we remove the CSS, yeah, properly our code is working. So this is what we call it as adding event listeners inside a JavaScript only. Okay, not inline event listener. Actually, this is not required now. So let me remove this first and let's re-execute it one more time. So I'll click here, I'll remove CSS. Yes, CSS got removed. Okay, so you can check HTML code is now separate and this is the complete JavaScript code which is completely separate. Okay, so now I'm just going to copy the entire code. So this is also we have discussed. How we can remove the class name, that also we have discussed. Okay, Now to access the elements, different methods are used as I have provided over here, getElementById, getElementByClassName. Let's discuss about it. But before that, this example you can go through the document in which I have provided. Okay, so this is the example we have executed till now. Okay, so I'll just give the title example explained in session. Okay, this is the example we have discussed in the session. If you want to explore other examples, I have provided over here. You can go through it. Okay, yeah. So now let's discuss about how we can access the elements. See, we can access this HTML elements inside our JavaScript code with the help of document.getElementById, document.className, document.TagName, querySelector, querySelectorAll. Multiple ways are there. So let's discuss about them. Okay. So in that case, I'm going to create one more new file with the name DOM methods, DOM methods.html. Okay, yeah. So let's take the basic structure of HTML. Both the meta tags we are going to remove. Okay, this language also, English also we will remove. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about some DOM methods for accessing elements. Okay, so few we already have learned like document.getElementById, class name. Okay, one more time, clearly we will understand means when to use which method, that we will discuss. Okay, so let's say you have a container and the ID for this container you have given as main heading. Okay, or main heading container. This is the ID you have provided for this div. Now for one website, only one main heading will be available, correct, right? So in that case, if you'd have used ID, then in your script tag, you can target that element like this script tag. You can just write element, let's say main heading. This is the variable name. So then you can write document dot get element by ID, get element by ID. And what is the ID name? Main. Okay, I'll just going to copy this ID name and let's paste it over here. That's all. So the meaning is target the element where ID is main heading container. That's all. So now that complete element is present in this variable. Let me show you. I'll just save the code. We'll go live now for this new document. Okay. Now we'll just right click and inspect our code. We'll go to the console and what is our variable name? From here you can clear your console. Okay. Our variable name which we have used is main heading, right? So I'll just write main heading. So your main heading is holding the complete container where ID is main heading. So you can access this element inside your JavaScript. Why we need to access inside JavaScript? To change its text content or to add a new element inside this container. To manipulate this, basically we target it in JavaScript. Okay, so yes, by using this getElementById, if you have one single element you can target like this. But let's say you have multiple div containers, okay, where the class name we have given it as a container1. Okay, container1 or only container I'll give. So let's say I have multiple containers with the same class name. Okay, and I want to target only the first container where class name is container. So first div if you want to target where class name is container, just now we have learned about it. We can use querySelector, correct, right? So I'll just write let, I am going to give the variable name as container. So we can just write document dot querySelector. Okay, querySelector. So now here we have mentioned go to the document and check each element and target the element where class name is container. The first element where class name is container. Now this is incorrect way of writing the code because whatever the container we have provided over here, what is this container? Is it a class name, ID name? your JavaScript won't understand it, like how we have mentioned getElementById. So JavaScript will get to know that target the element where ID is main heading container. But here how JavaScript will get to know this container is a ID or class. So that's why we have to mention dot over here when we are using query selector. So what is the meaning of this line? Target the element where class name is container. Target the first element where class name is container, not all the elements. So now if you check your output carefully, what is the variable name? Container, right? So if you try to print container, see, we got the first one element only, okay? But if you want all the elements where class name is container, okay? So in that case, we can write like this, okay? Here I'll just write all containers. All the containers where class name is container. Then in that case, you can write document dot query selector all, means get all the elements where class name is container. Okay, like this. We'll save the code. Now, if I just try to access all containers, see, we got one node list. This is container 1, container 2, container 3. As you can check, 3 elements are there where class name is container. Okay, and we got node list in return. So we got all the elements where class name is container. And in return, what we got? Node list. Do remember this. Okay, so here I'll just write what we got in return. Node list we got in return, inside which all elements are there where class name is container. Dot is must because we have used query selector. Okay, now in the similar way we can get all the containers like this. Okay, all containers. Okay, second way, all containers too I'll write. So you can get it like this also. Document dot get element by class name. So get all the elements where class name is container. Container. Now here you should not mention dot container because class name already we have mentioned. So JavaScript will get to know that this container is a class name. Here JavaScript won't understand what is this container. So that's why we have mentioned dot. Here also dot. Dot we used for class name. Hashtag we use for ID. Okay, do remember this. So now let's understand what is present inside this second variable. So now if I try to print this variable, see, I got HTML collection and here also the length is 3. 0th index element is div container, again div container. So basically both are giving the same output, but one is giving something called as node list and second is giving HTML collection. Okay, here we have all the 3 elements where class name is container. Here also in this variable we got all these 3 elements as HTML collection where class name is container. Then what is the difference between node list and HTML collection? Let's understand this. Okay, now let's say dynamically I created one more div container. Carefully observe now. Okay, let's say new element. How to create the new element? Document dot create element. Now what is the element name? Let's say the element name here is div. Okay, div container. On the next line, I want to give the class name as a container. So new element dot class list dot add. What class name you want to give? I want to give the class name as container. Once my div element is ready, here at this line what will happen? It will create one div container like this. Okay. At this line what will happen? To this div container we have provided one class name. So it will create one div container with the class name container, because we have given the container like this. Now on the next line I want to append it to the browser body. How to append to the browser body? Document dot body dot append child. Okay, what is the new element name? New element means this, in this variable that new element is present. So we'll just write new element, that's all. So now dynamically we created one element. Okay, We added the same class name which we have for these three elements which we created statically. This we created with the help of JavaScript and we added it directly into the browser body here. So now already we are targeting the elements where class name is container. This line you check. So when JavaScript is executing this line, how many elements are present where class name is container? Only 3. So node list with the length 3 you will get. But what about the HTML collection? When we are executing this line, how many elements are present? 3 elements are present, correct, right? So let me show you first the output. If you try to access the value of all containers and all containers too. This is your all containers, okay? And this is your all container 2. If you check here, the node list length is 3, but HTML collection length is 4. Now here we got HTML collection length. Let me just write it over here. HTML collection length as 4. Okay. This is the difference between node list and HTML collection. Yes, we have only 3 elements where class name is container. But what about the element which we added dynamically? So whenever you will add any class name with the class name container, whenever you will add any element with the class name container in future also, based on user interaction, let's say new element got added in the body, then live updates this get element by class name will give. See, one new element you added with the class name container. So now we have total 4 div tags where class name is container. So HTML collection is showing 4. But your node list will check initially only 3 was there, so it will give 3 only. It won't give it as a 5. Or what you can do is you can just display one button, and here you can use on click and call one function with the name add one more div. This is a function name I have provided. So here I am just going to give click, that's all. So now I will implement one function with the name add div, okay, like this. And inside this function all the 3 lines we are going to give, okay. Yeah, we have provided all the 3 lines over here. So now what will happen? When user will click on this button, add div function will be called. Inside this function, we created the new div element with the class name container and we added it to the browser body. And here we have mentioned check in the browser body how many elements are there with the class name container. 3 are present. Okay. Previously 3 are present. When user will click on this, 4 containers will be present. Okay. So now I will save the code. We'll go back. See, initially I am going to print the value of first variable is all container. So I'll just write all containers, which is returning node list. Then I will write all container 2, which is returning HTML collection, where length is 3. Here also length is 3. Now if I click on this, so one more new element got added. So again we will try to access all containers where length is still 3. And because if you check, now 4 div are present. Okay. This is first div, second div, third div and fourth div. One more div got added in the browser body. See, after executing this script tag, one more div is present where class name is container. So now if I go and print all container 2, see the length I am getting 4. So it will give you the live update. Okay, live it will check how many elements are present. But when it comes to document.querySelector, one time it will just check, okay, length was 3. But when user will click on this, this length became 4. So it won't update the length. It is static. But HTML collection will provide you the live collection. So in that case, we go with this getElementByClassName. So more better clarity you will get once we start using it in our application. Okay. So if you are complete beginner, first time if you are learning about this, so high chances are there you will end up with the confusion. But don't worry, go through the notes, read it multiple times, for sure you will get the clarity. Okay. So whatever the code we have executed, I am going to provide that code over here. Okay. So go through the code and practice it. Here I'll paste that code. Okay, this is the complete code we have executed to understand DOM methods for accessing the element. Okay, so you can go through the code and you can understand it. So next we can modify the content with the help of inner HTML, like how we have used text content, we can use inner HTML also. Let's understand about this. See, we can go with the text content when you want to just provide the text content, that's all. Now here we have created one div. Let's say you want to provide some text content to this div. So what you will write? New element dot text content. Now what is the text content? Here I'll just write hello. So what will happen? Already div container is ready like this, correct, right? So inside this div container, this hello will go and sit like this, correct? This is what will happen over here. But I don't want hello, rather I want one p tag. Okay, so now I'm going to use backtick. Backtick will be present beside your one key. Okay, inside this I'm going to give the p element. This is the closing of p element, and here I'll just write hello. Now what will happen? It will target new element, means this div container. Inside this div container, it will provide the p tag like this, closing of p tag, and inside that it will give hello like this. So your output will look like this. Let me show you the output. Yeah, this is your output. If you click on this, now you can check there is one div container holding p. But like this p I don't want. It should be like a paragraph, right? P tag should not be present like this. See how I am getting our output. Like this I am getting my output. Okay. So your text content will consider this as a text, a string. But this is my HTML tag. So in that case, we just use inner HTML like this. So we are telling to the JavaScript that this is HTML code which I want to add inside this div container. So now it will treat it as paragraph. If I click on this, see hello, we got it over here. And yes, inside your div container, you have one P holding hello. Okay. So that's the difference between your inner HTML. As you can check, newly created element dot, if you want to give some tag like this, then you go with this. Okay. For example, B tag we have used to display the content in bold. Okay. Let me show you. If instead of P, if I give the B over here like this is the closing of B. I'll just remove these comments now. I'll save the code. We'll go back here, refresh this. Let's click on this. See, hello in bold we got. But instead of inner HTML, now if I just give text content, then what will happen? This B will be considered as a string. Now if I click on this, see B like this I am getting. So browser is not understanding the meaning of these tags. So we have to tell to the JavaScript that this is HTML element. Let browser render this. Otherwise JavaScript is thinking this as a string value. Okay. So that's the difference between dot inner HTML and dot text content. Okay. These both are the properties. These are not methods, because while calling the method we use this brackets. But have we used brackets like this? No. So these are the properties, not methods. Do remember this. Okay. So yeah, this is all about the difference between inner HTML and text content. Now this complete code I'll copy. Okay. Where we have done some changes. And this I'll just paste it after this second point. Yeah. Here on the new page, I'll provide the complete code. Let me copy it properly. Yeah. So here we'll paste it. What happened? Okay, I guess there is some issue. Okay, I'll just modify it properly and I'll provide. Okay. I'll modify this document with the content. Okay. So now finally we have few more DOM manipulation methods. Okay. Let me show you over here. Yeah. So we have something called as get attribute, also set attribute, remove attribute. This we already have covered. Now remove method is used to remove the element. So three methods are there: get attribute, set attribute, remove attribute. I want all of you to try it out by yourself about those methods. Okay. So these are the very important things. This is example number 1 and example number 2. So these are the very important DOM manipulation methods which you have to remember. Okay, you don't have any other option. So we will be having many practice examples and applications we are going to build using these concepts. So before we start building any application, make sure you will revise it. Okay. So yeah, this is all about our today's session. We'll meet in the next session with some new concepts in the JavaScript. Until then, take care all of you and wish you all the best to all. Thank you.